So I'm here in the 100-acre woods, special spot for the lower school especially. They love to come out here for recess. I'm with two of our teachers. Will you all introduce yourselves, please? Paula?
I'm Paula Hardy. I teach humanities. I have 9th grade and 12th grade classes, and I'm the freshman dean.
Yeah.
And I'm Serena Whisenhunt. I teach 8th grade language arts, and I coordinate middle school spiritual life, which is our weekly worship time.
Yes, and just for a little context for some of our parents that might not know, so 9th grade dean, what's that role?
So I basically take care of things like discipline issues and try to coordinate things like our fall retreat when we start off the school year. I kind of coordinate our planning for that to make sure we have our devotionals set, to kind of set the tone for the year. And then as people have problems throughout the year, they come and talk to me.
Yeah, great. And in your role as Director of Spiritual Life?
Right. In spiritual life at the middle school level, we have weekly worship, and that's part of what we do. In the 8th grade, the 8th graders take turns leading the worship. And in the language arts classes, I try to coach them and help them prepare their teaching for that opportunity to lead the worship.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, and I've invited the two of you to come and talk because I wanted to talk about the Gospel of Mark. We read the Gospel of Mark this summer as Trinity reads, so the whole community, from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, and faculty and parents. And you both have, I know, engaged with the Gospel of Mark this fall with your students and are continuing to do that some through the year.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about how that book, the Gospel of Mark, is making its way into the Trinity. So, Serena, why don't you start and tell us a little bit at the middle school level?
Okay, so first of all, for me, it was a gift that you had us do this read. I thought at the end of the spring, oh, Chip's made my job so easy, because every year I design a lesson that is going to be around what we're doing as a school. And it has to be broad enough for individuals to plug into it, but it has to be specific enough to be thematic. And so the Gospel of Mark is what frames all of the sanctuary talks this year. I began by reading it myself over the summer and taking notes on it and just sitting with the Gospel of Mark. And so for me personally, it was a very rich opportunity to focus on that one gospel. And that is also what I've been doing since then. I'm just going to be sitting with it all year long.
So in a personal way, making it part of your own devotions.
Yes, every day I open my Bible to the Gospel of Mark. I read other things too, but I always have that as part of my reading. And then the students, you know, it's a gospel that is fast-paced, and it's got these vivid verbs, and there are all these adverbs like immediately and right after that and suddenly, and there's so much that happens in the Gospel of Mark that I find it's a perfect opportunity for 8th graders to stop and pause and say, what is behind all that action?
Yeah.
You know, what's the richness in the Old Testament customs behind the passages? What is behind this verse that Jesus uses? It's so fast-paced that it lends itself to the skill that I'm trying to cultivate in the 8th grade, and that is, what's the depth behind those fast-paced words?
Yeah, that's great. I want to come back to that and talk a little bit more about what you're going to do in Sanctuary.
Okay.
But Paula, why don't you share a little bit about the 9th graders and what they did on their retreat?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the same things that Serena did. We've used it a lot in our devotionals and advisory sessions. It's been handy to have that as a starting framework this year. But we really honed in.
Excuse me, but maybe explain advisories, what those are.
So each 9th grader is in an advisory group. A teacher meets with them a couple times a week and leads devotion. Sometimes students do those as well. And we're there kind of as a spiritual and social support for them. And so on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, we lead devotionals, and it was really handy to have Mark as a ready to go. We could pull anything we want from it, but we know that they're all coming from that same basic understanding, so we can make sure that there's some building upon that foundation that was there over the summer.
Yeah.
So it's been really helpful, and we kind of set the tone over our retreat. To start the year, 9th graders spend a couple of days at a camp, and we do have some large group devotions, and all of ours were focused around Mark this year. Each is led by a different teacher. And then this year, for their individual devotions, we ask all students just to spend some time quietly pondering what we've talked about. So one of the things I noticed as I was reading this Mark this summer is how many questions were asked. It was so interesting to read. Like sometimes there'd be a block of like 6 or 7 questions in a row. Who is this man? What is he doing? How did he do that? Yeah. And I was thinking about 9th grade as a time of so many questions. And it's when people really start to make faith their own. Maybe
right.
They're wondering, do I believe the same things my parents do? Or other people might be coming in who have different backgrounds. What do I think? And so I kind of went at like that. I made a devotional packet where they had questions that were asked about Jesus, questions that were asked to Jesus, and questions that Jesus asked. And I just listed a lot of different questions and had them write about which one kind of met where they were. And it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Some of them actually gave them to me, and we're using those as ways to maybe kind of hone some of our advisory devotionals. There are lots of questions about fear. So that's one of the topics we want to make sure we hit this year.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's great. Well, when I saw that devotional, one of your colleagues shared it with me, and I looked at it and I thought, this is so simple but so profound.
Yeah.
And really, I wonder if we could even share that devotional on the when we share the video. That'd be great, so that our parents could have those questions too.
Yeah, and it was really helpful because it wasn't anything that was super intense. We weren't even asking students to write prayers or something that might intimidate someone coming from a different faith background. It's really just asking them to think, and that's kind of what we're all about, right? So the Gospel of Mark was a really great way to set that up.
It reminds me of Pat Bassett, who was formerly the head of the National Association of Independent Schools, liked to say that at the end of the day at the dinner table, instead of asking your kids, what did you learn today? Ask them, what questions did you ask today?
Nice.
That's
Interesting. That habit of learning to ask good questions and asking yourself good questions is really essential to a good education.
Yes.
So, yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, of course.
It's good. Serena, tell us a little bit more about Sanctuary and what it is and how you're using the Gospel of Mark in Sanctuary.
Okay, so Sanctuary is our middle school worship time. We meet every week. Janet Ray and Marty Stam lead us in singing. We have some students who help with that. They play musical instruments along with that. And then we typically have a speaker. We have you, and we have Dr. Goss. We've had Dr. Hall, the director of the middle school. And at the beginning of the year, the students, the 8th graders, are actually preparing their talks, and they are going to start doing those in October. So the Sanctuary work, a lot of it takes place in September. And one of the things that I require them to do is to create an outline for a talk, and I give them very specific requirements to meet in that outline. For example, and this is really relevant to Mark, looking up the context of a passage, looking up the Old Testament references behind a passage, but they are also asked to interview a mature Christian. And the purpose of that piece is to make sure that they talk to more mature Christians to see how other people have applied a text to their life, or how they've, actually grown by learning a scripture. And so I have them work on these outlines for about a month, the month of September, in language arts class, and they will do this, with a partner or two, and it's hard. I mean, it's a rigorous, complicated process, but the purpose of that heavy prep is to make sure that when they are presenting, they are confident and, speak appropriately and speak richly.
And I've heard a number of folks comment on how Trinity students learn to speak in public.
Yes.
I think this is something that the school has done well, and
all the way through.
All the way. It starts in kindergarten with the TK circus and moves up through the Pharaoh Day and Greco-Roman Day. And the stakes get higher.
The stakes get higher.
And at 8th grade, that's a challenge.
It's a rite of passage for those 8th graders, and it's especially hard because it has that spiritual component.
Right.
So but they are in front of their peers, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal, but they do it very, very well. And when they're done, they have this experience under their belt. They're not nearly as intimidated the next time they have to do a presentation. So it's a good experience, but it's. I think one of the things they learn in doing it is they take ownership for participating in a community that's growing spiritually.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
That's great.
Yeah.
And our parents should be forewarned that they might be interviewed, right?
Well,
They could
actually,
be.
interestingly enough, parents are not allowed.
Oh, they're not
Yeah,
allowed.
we
Okay.
I found that you know, I learn each year what to tweak in my assignment, and it was a little too easy to go to mom and dad.
Okay.
So I'm making them look a little bit beyond mom and dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. That's great. So, and I know that Ellen Van Tongeren in the upper school worship time is thinking about the Gospel of Mark and using that as well for some of our times together as an upper school to worship.
Right.
Yep. So, well, I want to thank you both for visiting with me and sharing just a little bit. I know we didn't get a lower school teacher in on this conversation, but I know that it's, Gospel is making huge impact there. I was talking with Melissa Hardemink about some of the things that they're doing in the second grade and some other places. So it's my hope that we'll continue to ruminate on the Gospel of Mark throughout the year. And thank you for what you all are doing. I've mentioned to our parents that we are offering a Christianity Explored class starting in January. You'll be hearing more information about that, and there's a promotional evening on October 25th, a Thursday evening, if parents want to just come out and sample and see what that is. The Christianity Explored is a class that comes out of All Souls Church in London. Rico Tice, one of the rectors there, has developed a class in which you explore the Gospel of Mark, and it's what I love about it is that it is incredibly valuable for someone who has been following Jesus for 50 years, but also it is a great introduction for someone who might be saying, I've never read the Bible, or I don't know where I am in my Christian faith, I'm not sure what I think about Jesus, or I'm new to Christianity, or wherever you are in your spiritual journey. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to explore. It's a small group kind of discussion with lots of questions, looking at passages and just asking honest questions, and a place where it's okay to doubt and to come and say, this I don't understand, but really to interact with the gospel. And so I think this was, I think the Lord led us to the Gospel of Mark last spring, and I'm really thankful for that. Yeah. So
Thank you.
thank you for joining me. Yeah.
Thanks.
Non nobis.